I never get tired of that intro video just because it makes me look so cool. And because my 11-year-old told me I'm not cool. So it's okay. It's all part of the circle of fatherhood, I think. Welcome, everybody, to episode 21, QBR Best Practices. Just because you saw QBR doesn't mean you have to ignore this, because we are going to talk about all the good things about QBRs. So before we do, let's take care of some Success Panda housekeeping. So 2 big things. So one is just head over to my profile on LinkedIn. We're going to be starting up a Success Panda group coaching that's $10 a month. This just meant for us to go through my pipeline. It's for us to be among friends. If you want to come and be a guest, if you're a hiring manager and you want to come and give back and help out some people, let me know. Just send me a DM. And then 2, on our product roadmap, we have what I've been talking about, our marketplace, where we're going to be able to sell digital products. So if Noelle, for example, has an amazing onboarding, if she has like an amazing onboarding template, we're building this right now. And there is, in my featured section on my LinkedIn, a spot where you can go and sign up if you want me to reach out to you when this thing goes live, right? Where you can list your digital assets and people can buy it, or you can also give away stuff for free. So that will be rolling out by the end of the month. That's Success Panda stuff. So without further ado, let's do some intros of our panel today. So we got Olivia, Ramon, and Noelle. Noelle, seasoned veteran. I mean, how many times have you been on the show?
A few. If we include the mock interviews as well.
Oh yeah, there you go. So we got a believer. So we got Noelle with us again. So let's go ahead and do some intros. And on my screen, I show Ramon, then Noelle, and then Olivia. So let's go in that order. Ramon, you want to tell us who you are and something fun you're doing this weekend? I'm going to pull down my blinds.
Cool. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm working as Director Customer Success at Recruiter-Flow, and I've been working in the CS industry for more than 14 years now. And I've actually seen this industry grow from just a glorified customer support to a most integral and an important function in any organization now. And just about Recruiter-Flow, we are a global AI-enabled RecOps company that is helping all the recruitment agencies around the globe to drive growth and streamline their businesses. Fun fact about me, really love karaoke because I enjoy singing and sometimes, rapping. So yeah, that's about me.
Oh my gosh. Will you rap for us right now?
I mean, yeah, right.
I can't right now, I'm sorry, but yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, you actually have cool things you like to do, which is cool. That is cool. All right. Thanks, Ramon. Go ahead, Noelle.
I am Noelle Hancock. I do not like karaoke. I don't think there is enough drink in this world to pull me down that. Even after having lived in Japan for a while and teaching English over there, I was well exposed to the karaoke environment. But I do enjoy singing in the shower and in my car where others cannot hear me. And I think others are very happy for that same thing.
Right.
But I've been in the client success world for quite a while as well, was introduced to this world, dipping my toe in back in 2013 before finally taking that leap in the latter part of that era. And I am currently managing a new client success team for small groups over at The Difference Card, helping build out a pooled model, which is interesting and different from the rest of what I've been able to do in the client success world in the past. And fun for the weekend is, we're selling our house right now, and we just had the home inspection that revealed broken sewer lines. So I think the fun is just trying to distract ourselves from that over the weekend with whatever we can.
Yeah. So you're going to be fixing the sewer line is what you're saying. You personally are going.
Personally, yes, I am going. I've got a backhoe coming and a loader. I'm going to excavate myself and act out those childhood dreams of operating heavy machinery.
Bingo. Well, that sounds fun. Good luck with that, Noelle. Go ahead, Olivia.
Noelle, I do not envy you. My husband and I just bought a house back in November, and that whole process is so overwhelming. So I'm feeling for you. My name is Olivia Cott. I'm currently the Director of Customer Experience at Carly Agar Training. So I work very closely with all of our coaching clients. I oversee our resume consulting and career coaches, both those teams to support aspiring and existing CS folks find their next CS role, which is super fun, super rewarding. I absolutely love it. I kind of fell into customer success like I think many people do. I had worked for the state of Connecticut and then Indeed and stayed in recruiting tech and HR tech before finally moving into my full-time role with Carly, which has been a ton of fun. Fun weekend plans. If you're a follower or a fan of Barstool Sports at all, you'll know that New Haven, Connecticut is the pizza capital of the world. And I'm not too far from New Haven. We have some friends coming up, so we're going to get some New Haven pizza and just see them for a little bit. But I am excited.
Cool. As someone who is a fan of pizza, I need to write this down. So
I have some recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, like it's always you have to be careful who you talk to pizza about because like the Chicago and the New York and the New England people. And so it's kind of, you don't want to say the wrong answer in the wrong parts of town because you might get jumped. It's
fair.
I know. Cool. Well, I'm playing indoor soccer tonight. That's my fun thing. All right. So let's, and then trying not to get hurt. So, but last week, 2 goals at the doubleheader. So that was cool. All right.
Nice.
So we're talking QBRs, and this is a fun but yet controversial topic I see anymore. As anybody who spends any time looking on LinkedIn, sometimes this topic comes up. Just today, I was looking and I saw someone in the community was talking about are QBRs dead? So that's kind of the first question that I want to ask is, what's your opinion about the future of QBRs? Are they being done right? Are they being done wrong? Are they eventually going to go away? Do we just send Loom videos to people now? So we'll start Olivia, then Noelle, and then Ramon.
Yeah. I think before even being asked this question, Noelle made a really good point that like QBRs need to be done right. And I think that's going to be the major important thing. So I think gone are the days of us talking about our feature releases and our product updates and everything that we as a company or as a vendor have done. And it's going to be much more focused on the customer. I do think with the trend of more one-to-many strategies and more digital roles, scale roles, we will start to see more Loom QBRs, async QBRs. I know even like Churn Zero and Gainsight can automate sending data. I think that'll be more popular, and they'll probably become, or that big QBR will probably become more of a upper mid-market enterprise motion. But that's just my prediction.
Yeah. No, I think that's some good input because people have to justify this technology and AI spend for something.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, we bought this. Which we spend it for? QBRs, make it happen. Go ahead, Noelle.
Yeah, it's certainly a loaded topic and a loaded question. I think that's why we have this panel today. To Olivia's point, the way QBRs have been done in the past, yes, I think that is going by the wayside because we've all in our careers have learned a lot and have been a part of the good and the bad. And I saw a really great image this morning actually on LinkedIn, and it wasn't actually about QBRs, but it was about data. And typically in the past, QBRs have been around, here's your data. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So it was this visualization of Legos with, your data, and it's just raw. So what do you do with it? Well, you segregate it. So now you have it segregated, but now you need to analyze it. Now you need to visualize it. And the visualization point is where a lot of people have taken their QBRs, which is great, but then they don't tell the story about it. And I think that's where we're going to be moving more, especially as we start to see a greater importance placed on client success in different organizations. It's less around this presentation of data, and it's more about becoming that strategic advisor. So how can you position that? How can you use these QBRs to position yourself as that strategic advisor and the trusted advisor for your clients? Not just this person who's your sort of their glorified support rep, bringing them into support and helping them get into portals or get access to XYZ thing or remove somebody from a system. It's taking the time during these QBRs now to revisit what that organization's business goals are for the year. That's, at the beginning of the year, you want to do that, and revisiting those goals throughout the year, and how the product that you are with and partnering with them, and how this helps them achieve those business goals. What part do you play in achieving that success? And what do you know about their market? What do you know about their industry and their employees or their clients, depending on what sort of relationship you have here? And how can you help them move beyond this day to day to get to a more strategic point?
Nice. Go ahead, Raman.
So I couldn't agree more to Noel's point and even Olivia. But one thing that I really would want to start on is that don't overwhelm and don't overdo on a QBR, because at the end of the day, QBR is meant to be, is meant to be a dialogue, a conversation starter wherein you are discussing things with the customer and let them drive and speak up that yes, this is working for them, instead of we telling them that, hey, this is great, this is a great feature, this is everything. But I would say at the end of the day, it has to be specific and tailored to what the customer is really interested to know. That is, how well are they moving towards the goal or the business goal that they plan to achieve at the end of the year? Are there any specific problems or blockers that they oversee that you might to proactively come over? Then you also would want to focus on how you are actually generating value at every given point of time, because every quarter has a very important value in the customer life cycle, right? Say, for example, the first 3 months, the quarter, right? That focus, and in that particular time, the focus of the QBR needs to be more towards time to value, how you are focusing towards it. The next 6 months, more towards adoption. The other one, trying how well have we moved towards scaling the business towards achieving the goals. So I guess more tailor-made, customer-centric, and at the end of the day should have an actionable, because QBR without any actionable is just a presentation which has no endpoints. So you have to have an actionable at the end of the QBR to make it successful, and the customer would also look forward to it in the next QBR, that how you guys are progressing. So that would be my 2 cents on the QBR and the importance of QBR in today's world.
Yeah, no, I love all those points. I think when I think about QBRs that I've done in the past, it's a lot of times there are certain stakeholders will only come to QBRs, and it's like you have your perhaps one and only shot to prove that you're not wasting their time, right? Which is leading into my next question, which is, the panel did a great job of articulating bring value to the QBR. Think of it as a collaboration between you and your customer. Make sure that they feel like it's worth their time. Let's just quickly revisit if there's any tips or tricks or insights. What if you're coming into an account? So this is the next question. What if you're coming to an account and you've inherited them because the person before you got fired? It's not funny, but let's just say that someone did, and you're trying to get your champions, your decision makers to come, and they're like, hey, we went to QBRs with Johnny, they didn't provide value. Why should we come to the QBRs with you? Like, how do we get those people who have disengaged to come back? So that's anybody, whoever wants to take that up first.
I can take it first.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I guess that I have gotten into this situation personally as well, and where the customer was like, we have gotten into this in the past, and we couldn't find anything apart from a lot of content and context on the deck. So I guess the very first thing is that in the prelim, we need to set the agenda correct and tell them what is in it for them at the end of the day. If you're just getting into a QBR with a loaded deck without any prior information that what they are going to get into, I guess that kind of anxiety creates a negative impression as to, is it worth my time at the end of the day or not, right? And that's where we also try to use some catchy phrases while we are putting an agenda, that when we put a line, say, for example, how far have you moved towards achieving goals? And we try to put some metrics like improvement by 20% in achieving the goal, right? Reduction in support tickets by 10%. Sometimes when you're putting these practical and realistic values in the agenda that is giving them a snapshot of what they are getting into, that would always get their interest. But when they are there, you need to be aware that you need to be pretty concise, data centric, and tell them what they really need to listen in terms of the improvements. That is what brings up the magic and makes them more engaged. And when I say engaged, please let them talk. Please let the customer speak their words, even if it is negative or positive. Give them way, give them that runway to share their thoughts and accept it, and give them an assurance that you're working on it.
Like that.
I would even take it a little bit farther. And if this is your first meeting with this client, I wouldn't even call it a QBR. I would set aside all terms, and I would come into this, especially since if somebody was let go from a team, it's probably poor experiences have been a part of this. So you don't know what you're really walking into, and you don't know this client either. This is a new client for you. So I think this initial meeting needs to be less about what we are doing for them and what the product is doing, how great we are, and look at all the success here. And it's just, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your business, and I want to get to know what's important to you, so that as we build these out in the future, we're actually giving you information that you want, not just information you've had in the past, because that may not have been meeting the needs or answering the questions. So set up a series of questions where you're really diving in, and to Ramon's point, where you're letting them talk. You are asking more questions and you are listening than you are speaking. They are front and center. This is your position to start building that trust. It's like a first date. If you're going into a first date talking about how great you are and how amazing you are and all the things that you do and what you can do for them, that's going to be the end of the date. You're not going to get a second date. This is your chance to ask them about themselves. People like to talk about themselves, and that's what's going to build that rapport and that trust. And the little seed will be planted that will hopefully grow into something a lot better in the future.
So that's what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
So you're saying from Moana, when Tamatoa, the little crab thing, he says, "Are you trying to get me to talk about myself? I will gladly do so." That is a bad tactic. Okay. Wow. It's all been the revelation that just happened. Okay.
I'm here for dating advice as well as client success advice.
There you go. For dating advice. That's why we have you back, Noelle. You're multivariate. There you go. Go ahead, Olivia. Do you have anything you want to add?
I do, because I think Noelle made a great point of not calling it a business review, and that's totally fair. Like, if someone were to just throw one on my calendar and say business review and I hadn't met them, I'd be like, ugh. But I think there's a couple other small tactical things you can do just to get a disengaged customer to pay attention to you. Not calling it a business review, not asking more than 25 minutes of their time. Making sure that you send them, kind of to Ramon's point, send them what you're going to cover ahead of time. So I used to like to do these QBR in a nutshells, where it would be like a one pager just of the data we were going to cover, and they could decide if it was worthwhile. But I think my biggest piece of advice, in addition to the discovery component, is the mindset. So I read a book some time ago, and granted, it was published quite some time ago, so the data is probably off, but the average C-level decision maker is making about $300,000 a year, which means their hourly rate is $150. So if you're asking a C-level decision maker, as well as a VP, a director, a manager, all of them to get on a call for an hour, it could be a $500 call. So would you ask them for $500 in exchange for this call? If not, probably not a worthwhile meeting. So it needs to hold that value. And then I think once you have that mindset, you can use a lot of the same almost expansion strategies that you have to get them on a call. Try multi-threading, looping in other team members, things like that can be really helpful.
Yeah, so all great points. Anyone have a follow-up? No? Okay, I was just going to say, those were all great points. To build on what Olivia just said, as far as some tips and tricks, is just adopt the language of your client, right? If they don't call them QBRs, they call them EBRs, right? Executive business reviews. Show some flexibility. You can mix up one letter. I mean, just so use the language that they adopt. Everybody's had clients where they pride themselves on their nomenclature and how they're so special. I mean, I used to work for Apple, so I know. Shout out Apple. But yeah, so everyone thinks that they have their own unique language, so try to speak that. And then the second strategy is try to what Olivia was saying about keeping your meetings short, the number one hack that I found when you're meeting with executives for the very first time is if you schedule a meeting for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, end 5 minutes early. I don't care what it is. Just be like, 5 minutes early, make sure you cover all of it, because executives who come to your QBRs who know that not only do you end on time, but you end early are way more likely to come back the next time without having reservations, right? So if you're long-winded like me and you can talk the whole time, basically just try to work in stand-up and not as a CS. So that's my backup career path, and it's not going well, but we won't have to get into that. So awesome. Let's transition then and talk about what strategies, what makes for a good QBR, like in your experience. We don't have to have this be theoretical, but let's just share stories amongst friends of what's the best QBR that you've been a part of, and then just what made it so effective. So Rahman, you've been waiting patiently, so we'll start with you and then go Noel and Olivia again.
Okay, I guess the best QBR, if you want to term it as, it has been, again, as I mentioned earlier, is the one that is not overwhelming, full of insights. And when we say insights, more customer centric, not just, as Noel mentioned, like, what amazing stuff are we doing? What amazing features are we coming up with? But how are we directly having an impact on your business goals? It's all about you. And also, one more important thing is, how do you position your own SPOC, your own product champion, as a star in front of their own organization? It has a very important factor, because what you are trying to do through a BR or a QBR is also celebrating smaller wins, and also, appreciating the efforts that everyone from the customer is putting in towards the success of this entire project or this entire association, right? So we also try to value or pinpoint the main pointers that the customer side people are putting in, and also, appreciating the efforts that they are putting in for us, and also, sharing some important trends and even tricks. When I say trends, what is really working? Tricks, how well can they do to, improvise and expedite on their achievement of business goals, so that at the end of the day, as I mentioned, they go off with an actionable, we have a measurable goal that could be measured in the next quarter, and then we come back and see how we are performing while we did that or use that particular trick. So I guess these 3-4 things are really important, or makes it pretty special and worthwhile, and also important from a customer's time that they are utilizing, or they're putting a best time from their side.
Nice. Like that. Go ahead, Noel.
Yeah, just kind of touching on something that you mentioned earlier, Brad, where oftentimes this is the one chance you get to see that one person that you want to be in front of. And we had this particular partner that we knew that this was the case. Whenever we had quarterlies, if we want to use another term, instead of QBRs or EBRs, we had our quarterlies. We knew this individual from executive leadership would be on this call. And he always came with so many very specific, very good questions. So what I would do to help my team member, I was a director at this organization working with a team member leading these, was to sit down prior to this meeting and brainstorm. What do you think the questions are going to be that he's going to bring to us? Right. And let's dive into them. Let's practice it. I'm going to play him and I'm going to ask you these questions. Can you answer them? Do you know your data? Do you know the stories here so well that you can instantly answer that? Or are you going to be deer in the headlights? Because the first time this happened, it was a bit deer in the headlights. So we found this as a really great opportunity, not only for team member growth, but for solidifying this relationship. So we had it down so well to be able to really dive into the tangents that he would find, because he was so good, and it helped us develop our own strategic mindset as well, that each time we had our quarterly reviews, he would end it every time saying, I love these. These are so great. This is so amazing. I look forward to this every quarter as we get, this chance. And that's what you want with somebody from executive leadership, is actually looking forward to talking to you and to diving into this data. And it was that tactic alone. It wasn't the representation of what was going on, but it was how we were able to speak to it, to speak to their product, to speak to our product, and how they interacted and how their clients were using this, as well as provide some insights into what we were seeing overall with very specific clients that we knew were important to them. So this was actually like a partnership type client success relationship, partner success and client success relationship.
Cool. Yeah, no, that sounds like it. That is some good feedback to get from an executive sponsor for sure. I don't hear that too much. Good story. Olivia.
I think mine, like the example that comes to mind is very similar to Noelle's, but it's more like I had an exec that just would not come to any meetings, and naive me, the first time they did, I pulled up a slide deck and like they immediately shut down. And I think from that point on, the best QBRs that I've been a part of, you don't even pull up a slide deck until they either ask for it or they ask to see something, they ask for a specific data point, and you make it more of a conversation. You learn about their business, you learn about what success in their role looks like, and all of those important things. I know I keep harping on mindset and things like that, but I also think that the QBR prep process really starts at the kickoff, because you should be asking, okay, what does success look like to you? What does success look like to your organization? What are your outcomes? And how are you measuring progress toward those outcomes? And I'm sure we'll talk about data at some point, but I think the biggest mistake I've seen is over-indexing on data points that don't resonate with them, like adoption data. If it doesn't tie to a story, you want to talk their language and incorporate data that makes sense for them, so that they see that value.
Yeah, so let's go ahead, Noelle.
Yeah, I think Olivia really touched on something that's key here too, is that we all have to move away from the idea that the way you do a QBR is going to be the same across your client base.
Yes.
You have to be flexible, and you have to know what they need and want, because that same partner that I had that wanted all those details and those questions, and they wanted the deck and the numbers. I had another one that, same with Olivia, don't show me any of that. I want to talk about this, very short, sweet, and we're going to talk product, and we're going to talk my pain points and how we're going to solve them, and that's all we're talking about. So I knew I would bring product in every time. So his QBR very different from everybody else's, but that flexibility is so key in adapting to what their needs are. Love that.
Ramon, you got any follow-up? I see you shaking your head.
No, I couldn't agree more with the tailor-made aspects that Olivia and Noel have been, talking about. Is that, every customer is different, and we have to understand that particular perspective of every customer. What do they really want to hear? What do they really want to discuss? Be more prepared, and that's where you prepare that, I would say, award-winning QBR deck that would get their attention, and at the end of the day would be more helpful and resourceful to help them, understand how they're performing and how you are performing in this association.
Yeah, it's really great points all around. I'll just share a story. I was basically on this account. It was the 7-figure account, really big account. The salesperson, I was just listening. CS was starting to get involved, and instead of, like, if you're not playing an active role on a call, like if you're just there because someone more senior than you is kind of leading the call, there's a lot of good insights that you can gain just from on being the call. So like this one customer I was thinking about specifically, the most senior person was the guy kept emphasizing time, like my time, this time. So when my time came to shine, where I had basically a QBR, think of it as almost kickoff call, you just want to value what other people value, right? So for example, you hear the guy saying time, you go back, listen to your gong calls. If you have some sort of recording software, you can listen to calls, but find out what people value and then just be a mirror back to them, and they like you and they'll come to your calls. So specifically my first call, my best QBR ever was, we had this SVP on, never been on a call before, came to my call, CEO was on, and as someone who's a CSM, I have a way of operating, but sometimes like other people who will say are outside our discipline, not to throw elbows, but salespeople maybe, have death by PowerPoints and a big deck lined up. So we just do it different. We just do it different. And my whole thing, we had 30 minutes. I said, look, I'm going to cover all this in 5 minutes and give you back all your time. So I just had a 1-pager download. I said, that's it. Unless you have any questions for me, I'm going to give you back 25 minutes. This guy's face lit up like a Christmas tree, right? Because I was able to find what he values most and speak to him. And then anytime after that, my boss was like, how do you get him to keep coming back? I'm like, end your meetings early. Just give him back time, right? Make it safe for you to constantly be on a call with him. He knows you're not going to drone on and and then so every time I was able to ask him a question, like in an email, he right away, it was only 1 sentence. 1 sentence response is better than no sentence response, but it's still a response was a response. And I just remember people were like, well, how did you get him to do that? And I'm like, just value what they value. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of good thoughts right there. So let's talk about bad news real quick. And then we'll talk. Olivia did bring up data. We'll get into that first. Well, let's tie these together then. Because Olivia, she's calling out the show. We're going to talk about data. Okay, we see you over there, Olivia. Let's say that. No, you're good. You're good. So let's say, for example, because a lot of people face this, let's say that whether you're new on an account or your account starts going south or whatever. Let's say that you got bad news, and everyone kind of knows that there's going to be some bad news. How do we handle bad news? You can couch that in the context of the data's bad or the importance of data. But I have written on my wall right here, but this is because I'm bootstrapping a company. It says run to bad news. So that's just my personal opinion of it, that the difference between good and great is people who aren't afraid run to the bad news. They want to know. But what do you guys think? So Ramon, we'll start with you. Noel, bad news, data, take it any way you want, or we can talk about what you want to do on the weekend, whichever.
So I guess bad news in our case, it's all about perceiving and communicating it in a way that would be acceptable. But you have to address the elephant in the room, because bad news definitely carries some important information that needs to be addressed at the right point of time so that everyone can take preventive action towards it. For us, it's more of alerts, or overcoming blockers. That's how we put it, that this is something that we oversee, and if not addressed, could lead to a very big problem, or could really move the tracks for us to achieve our goals. How do we do it? So I guess for us, it's more of when we talk bad news, it's more of alerts and raising blockers so that the customer is aware of what is not working and where do they want to bring about a change. And when we say that, we open the forum for the customer to hear their thoughts around it, welcome their thoughts around it, and take it as a more collaborative action instead of just saying that, hey, you know what, we are doomed. We don't know what to do. So you need to show them the way.
We are all screwed, and we have no idea what to tell you right now.
Yeah, correct. So I guess we have been in this situation, but I guess the way we handle it, or the way I just interpreted it, has been pretty much helpful for the customers to take it in a positive stance. Because one positive side of this is that you have been made aware before it could create a big massacre. So you can take preventive actions. So I guess bad news has its own positive impacts. It's just the way you really put it in front of the customer.
Noel?
Yeah, I'm the same mindset. You want to run towards it. These are opportunities for some success on all sides. And if you're presenting this bad news in a QBR, then this is probably something that has already happened, that they've been made aware of prior. So you're using this time to revisit this. And if there's not yet a solution, you are also coming with solutions. I think that's the key thing. Whenever there's an issue, whenever there's a problem, whenever there's bad news, it's your own work, even outside of this, outside of QBRs, you want to offer solutions. And I love what Ramon said, and this is a collaborative thing. Let's work together towards a solution. We're here for you. I brought these other individuals into the team. I think showing your clients that you have placed importance on this, that it's not just something you're going to sweep under. You brought others in here. This is a priority. That's really what they appreciate, because people want to know that this is a priority, that it's not something that's going to get swept under the rug. And if this is something that you've already moved past, then hey, this is what we learned from this, and this is what we've done to protect you in the future. Because that's the other piece of this, is like, how do we know this isn't going to happen again? This was a nightmare. Make it not ever happen again. And if you can guarantee that, then gold star by your name and the company's name.
Ooh, you know I like gold star.
I do, yes.
Okay.
I think that's also on your board there, right? We just can't see that. You also have like a set of gold stars.
Yeah, there you go. Gold star, run to the bad news.
I guess it's all about intent as well. It showcases your intent in front of the customer that, you know what, we are here for you. So let's do it together.
And we're not going to avoid it. To your point, we are addressing this a little bit. We're not going to shy away from it. We're in there in the trenches, fingers dirty as well.
Right.
It's exactly what I was going to say. I think we sometimes over-index on relationship building in CS, but I think this is a really good opportunity to say, like, I wouldn't be a very good partner to you if I only ever told you good news. Like, I do sometimes have to share tough news or bad news, and I'm not just going to share it. To Noelle's point, I have a solution for you. I really like what Noelle said, though, that it's an opportunity, because I do really think that sharing bad news is an opportunity, and I promise I'm not this, like, woo-woo in real life. But it's a good opportunity for discovery. Ramon was saying how important, how kind of rare discovery is in the CS world sometimes, but even just sharing that bad news and simply asking, like, how do you feel about that, can give you a lot of really good insight into what the customer's thinking, if they're considering competitors, if they're concerned about it, if they're not, if their priorities have changed. So I would just use it as an opportunity for discovery, if nothing else.
I'm one of those like messed up people that thrives in conflict. Believe it or not, still happily married 14 years later. So it unfortunately hasn't reached over to being married. But like when I've been on calls on QBRs and there's bad news, I like see it as a challenge. So because everybody, like every software I've ever used, every solution has at some point, something has gone to where it hasn't gone perfectly most of the time, right? There's always something where a feature disappoints, or, you thought you got this when it was really more that, or there was some sort of just disappointment, maybe bad news is people are allergic to that phrase, that wording. But I think when you have the ability to correct or bring bad news, this is your time for leadership. This is why you get into this whole conversation about you don't need to manage people to be a leader, because a leader is just someone that you're willing to follow. In all of the QBRs where I've had to have bad news, I first make sure that if people come and they're venting their frustration, like we went to go use the product on this, POC, it fell down. We look terrible in front of our, you have to be able to stand in the fire and take it. And you got to be able to look that client right in the eye and say, you know what? These are the hidden words. I'm sorry that happened to you. Right? You have to apologize, right? Because a lot of times when you're in these corporate companies, it's like whoever gets the finger blaming is like takes the L. But with accounts, it's like it shows you, with companies, it shows strength if you're able to apologize and just be like, hey, you know what? The product fell down. I apologize. But you know what? I'm going to be your internal champion. And then you lead them to the promised land, right? So if you're able to then effectuate change within, they see you as a leader, as someone who they want to go to, which a lot of times, that's why you see in certain organizations, you might have an AE or you might have an account manager. There's all these different people who have their hands in the customer cookie jar, but they'll go to the number one person who they believe is the strongest leader out of all of them. And we want that to be us, right? As customer success managers and of people. So tell me where I'm wrong. Was that all just a bunch of gobbledygook? Does anyone feel different about that?
No, that was great. I mean, my mind kept going to my sewer, honestly, is just an analogy that if you don't face it, if you try to ostrich the problem and try to ignore it, it's just going to back up and get far worse. So you have to address the issue, even if it's awful and horrible, and just own it and face it. Get it.
So Noelle has a lot of sewer on her mind.
I do. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. And I guess the last thing I'll just say too on this before we'll talk about data here, the next question is just use every customer interaction for the basis of trying to multi-thread. You got 3 people on this QBR or this EBR. Hey, Noelle, thanks for coming. We ended 5 minutes early. Do you think there's anyone else that we could invite onto this call? Perhaps Olivia for next call. Do you think that she would find value in this over in marketing? Oh yeah, she would find value in it. So always try to use every customer opportunity to invite more people, right? I feel like a lot of times there's all these things that we could potentially do, and maybe there's not a checklist. Maybe you have a checklist, but don't be captured by your checklist, by the way, because this is like why they pay us, is to read the room. So if you have a checklist and your boss is on there and he's like, okay, I'm letting you run the QBR, and he's all staring at you through Zoom, like, okay, you better hit every single one of those checklists. But it's like sometimes the vibe in the meeting's just that 5 minutes. Hey, this is the download. You didn't hit your checklist. You didn't try to multi-thread. You didn't try, but at the same time, that's what made them happy. So just whatever you do, just make sure you can defend it and what you feel good about, because at the end of the day, it's your account.
So Brad, as you
go ahead, Ramon.
One additional point, you did mention really well about asking customers if we could bring anyone, if they could bring anyone to the QBR. What I have done is I kind of do it internally with my team, that if I feel that the customer is really thriving with us and they are getting results, what I do is I usually take someone from product or take someone from marketing that, hey, you know what, let's try to get some customer success qualified advocacy or some customer success qualified leads while we are interacting, and you could try to gain something. So we know that we are kind of very customer focused and trying to help them achieve, but sometimes if you feel that there is an opportunity, why not to kind of grab it? So we have also done this wherein sometimes we have taken the team, the marketing guy on the call and telling the customer that, hey, do you want to do a case study? Do you want to do a testimonial? And try to leverage the fact that if things are working for you, why not to kind of collaborate with a different department and get something more successful?
Yeah. I really like that point, because there's been times when whether how we want the world to be versus how the world is, like I was on an account where it was with a woman. I could tell that she probably would have appreciated having like a woman CSM. And so what I did was, this is the thing about LinkedIn. When people post on there, just go read it. See what she's into. Oh, she was into like triathlete. Okay, well then there's another coworker. Hey, will you jump on this call and like build rapport with her, initially? So it's just like, there's LinkedIn is such a repository for how people think. It's just funny because whether it's coaching clients or what is Success Panda, it's just like, if you've been following me on LinkedIn at all, like, exactly all my thoughts. Like, or when I was hiring people, my last position, when people were like, man, I wonder what's going to make me stand out in my interview with Brad. And it's just like, bro, if you read my LinkedIn page, you know exactly what to say, because it's all right there. So just use info the way we can. All right, so let's jump into data, because I don't, I want to be invited to Olivia's birthday party. She won't invite me if we don't have a question about data here. So let's talk about data. Okay, so here's a question. We talked a little bit earlier on the show about data, but tell us what role does data play in a QBR, and is the displaying or presenting of the data of the value, or is it in the interpretation? Or tell us, how can data affect we'll say the flow of the QBR, or how effective it can be? So we'll let Olivia go first, because we all want that birthday invite. And then we'll go
Just
Noel.
can't stop.
Yeah.
Sure. I love the Lego analogy that Noel shared. Like, the data is useless if it doesn't tell a story, right? If it doesn't even have a benchmark, an improvement over time, if it doesn't relate to their goals, like, it is so useless. You might as well just not include it. So I have very strong opinions about that. But I know we touched on it earlier. The data point should resonate with the customer, right? It should tie to their goals, their outcomes, what's important to them. I have been in like nightmarish QBRs where I've seen CSMs include like, your health score internally is this, and it's like, why would they care about that? Or I even have really strong opinions about like adoption data, because I think you can shoot yourself in the foot a little bit with adoption data. Because if the customer's achieving their goals, they've got 50% adoption. Guess what? They're going to contract.
On these QBRs, it's like your internal health score says that you are awful. You are not doing well.
Right. Trust me.
Everyone here hates you.
They make me want to melt into my desk.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
But I think like just focusing on what resonates for the customer. So like adoption data, they probably don't care unless they're not achieving their goals. So you have to tie it to their goals. I know we've also probably all seen the LinkedIn posts that like NPS is kind of going away, CSAT's going away. Those things aren't important to the customer. What's important is probably, are we saving time, or are we saving money, or are we making money? So everything needs to tie back to that.
You hit the big three.
I hope so. I'm like, I would feel terrible if I missed a big one and be like, but what about this one? But yeah, no, that's my feelings about data.
Nice. Noel.
I mean, I really think we've said it. It's, what's the story here? Is this relevant? And I, like Olivia, love data as well. I mean, a happy day is just spent in Tableau for the day, just looking through and asking questions. But what you're presenting to your clients is going to be very different and unique. And to what we've talked about as well, that the data that you're presenting to this client is not going to be the same maybe as what you're presenting to somebody else who has something different that's of value to them. So are you asking the right questions and are you telling the right stories is really what to think about as you're considering any kind of data representation.
Nice. Go ahead, Ramon.
So I guess, couldn't agree again more with Olivia and Noel. Data is actually the key thing that helps you, create that story that would help, the customer understand how they're actually progressing. And, we need to really tell them what really matters to them, what really is in sync with their business goals and objectives. And I really love the fact when Olivia mentioned that, we can't talk about internal health scores. Like, why would they even, care about that? Why does when I tell them, hey, you know what, you scored 2.5 on 5 on our health score, he was like, so what? What should I be doing now? Should I come and work for you now? So you have to be mindful about what you're talking to the customer. And I guess data helps you build that story, and you have to be really aware of what your customer is looking forward to in terms of achieving from your platform, creating that story and putting it out in front of the value so that they can understand the ROI that is being generated out of the platform. Because as a CS, we always talk value, ROI, value, ROI. I guess this is the point wherein we really need to represent it to them in their true form, which is actually, as I mentioned, in sync with their business goals. That is what is going to make the difference and improvise or create an importance of data for QBR. But we need to be really selective. We can't go overall or, give a lot of data which doesn't even make sense to them.
Yeah, I think too, it's asking permission sometimes when you're looking, and that's what I mean about knowing your audience. Like, who was it? Was that you, Noel, earlier in the call where you said, or was it Olivia? I can't remember, but someone said, hey, I put up a deck, and like as soon as they did, people just kind of go like this. They just faint like a flower. They're like, not again, because we don't have the social capital, or no one's brave enough to be like, Brad, if you show us this entire deck and leave us with 1 minute left in our time to ask questions, this will be the last time you see me. You should take a screenshot because this is what my face looks like and you'll never see it again. Yeah. So all solid points. And I would just say this: when presenting data, right? Don't make it about you. Okay. We know that there's some nerds like Noel who like to be in data all day. Okay. And then there's people who like me who like to have a life. But no, Noel can take that. She knows I love her. All right. So, anyways, but what I mean by that is don't make it about you. Don't be like, I'm going to be erudite and show them how I can manipulate on screen about how smart I am and Tableau and blah, 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 because these people need to know I'm smart and how wonderful I am. It's like, bro, who cares? Like, just present the data in a way that they'll find compelling, right? In a way that it speaks to ROI and the value that they're getting, which is my final point, which is just remember that as a CSM, one of the greatest gifts that you can develop is your ability to tell stories. And you have to think every account that you have has to have a story, like a storybook. And the art of storytelling, there's a lot about it. Go read a book, go find it on YouTube. But there's three main parts to every story: a beginning, middle, and end. And every part of a story has a all is lost, or the valley. So QBRs, EBRs, these quarterlies are a great opportunity for us to make sure that we are crafting a narrative and a story that, as when I was managing people, and what I tell is like one of the main jobs of a CSM is to how do we make the renewal a non-event, right? How do we make it a non-event where you're making the story beyond the renewal, right? And you're able to use the data to help you. And also don't be the person that just like manipulates the data when it's not true, and then just to renew them in the short term so you can last one more quarter before they come back and curb stomp you for lying to them. Don't be that guy either. So data is super important, but just know that with data, like data is just data, right? It's the emotion, because there are people behind that make decisions based off data, but understanding how to the emotional state of your customers and when data is presented to and how people could respond. Because I've been on QBRs where, like, similar to kind of what Olivia said, where data is shown, where it's just like, well, let's see here. You got 5 users, seats signed up, and Mary and Noel, who are on the call, they haven't logged in yet. Like, oh man, that's what makes this job fun though, because there's never a dull moment. And then if you have someone more senior than you who's trying to like basically hijack your QBR and it's a dumpster fire, look, you're going to take the L for that if it goes bad. So you either have to get the guts up to be like, hey, just let me do the QBR. Here's my plan, and you can win them over, or just, try to figure that out. Because I've seen that before too, where it's just like, oh, I got my QBR, I'm all ready, you did all this prep, and then your VP of whatever other comes on the call and wants to hijack it. It's just like, nope, that's a wrap. Anyone else experience that, or is that just me and my dysfunctional life?
Yeah, I think we all have that.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So we're at time, and it's been a good call. Been a good show, panel. Good job, everybody. So let's go around, tell people where they can find you, how you want to interact, anything you want to pitch to. Like Noel, I know that you're pitching, you're selling that Moro Rock back there, part of your real estate.
I wish I did live there, but no, I am not selling property in Central California. That would be
okay. You're moving from sewer house to Moro Rock. Okay.
Yeah, right.
There you go. So Ramon, Noel, and then Olivia, where can people get in contact with you?
Oh, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can just type in my name, Raman Bindra. You can find me there easily. And if someone listening from my country, so I'm based out of New Delhi, India, so you can always hit me up, and I'm more than happy to get in touch and have an interaction. Not just CS, we can go out together and do karaoke as well.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Generous offer.
Oh. I too am very active on LinkedIn, so please definitely reach out. Happy to interact with anybody, help you in any way possible that I can. And we are moving from this area, not back to the Central California coast, but to the Denver area where I used to live as well. So if anybody's in the area, Denver, Boulder, happy to sit down for some coffee, even at some of my favorite coffee shops in the States.
Oh, I guess you didn't want to pitch your house to try to sell it. Just speed it
Well,
up.
no, we have the offer. We just have to fix
Oh, okay, gotcha.
close.
That would have been an epic end to the show, Noelle. You're like, and my address is this, but you have to deal with the sewer.
Well, if somebody would like to make an offer and not have us pay for the sewer, then absolutely we will consider your offer first.
There you go. Nice.
Like Ramon and Noelle, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me. It's just Olivia Cott. I would love to chat. I would say if there's any Connecticut natives, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to chat, though I know Connecticut natives are few and far between. So I'm not going to push that too much, but would love to chat, connect. Feel free to send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I can attest they are active on LinkedIn because that's how they landed these speaking spots. So, it's been fun. Every panel seems like I learned something new, and this one's no exception. So Olivia, Noelle, Ramon, thanks for joining the show. Everybody who's watching, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Mel, what's our topic for next week? What's our topic?
Cost center to profit center.
There you go. Cost center to profit center for next week. So we will see everybody. Have a great weekend. And unless I get injured in soccer, then I won't see you. But until then, bye, everybody. Take care.